Hello. I'm Forrest Shaw and I've got a problem. How's it going, everybody? Hopefully good. If not, it'll be better tomorrow. I am not going to do a lot up front today. I want to get right into the podcast for the guests, but I just will say subscribe, rate, comment to the podcast. Thank you that for everybody that has already done that. Do it again. YouTube, I have its own channel now. I've got a problem podcast you'll be able to find on YouTube. I heard it's very easy to find. Please subscribe to that if you haven't already. Even if you're listening online, give me a subscribe on YouTube because get those numbers up, rate it, all that kind of stuff. Like throw some comments. Please, YouTube is lacking in comments. Please pick, even if you're listening on Apple Podcast, Spotify, whatever, throw some comments on YouTube for me as well. And if you feel like donating, as always, go to forshaw.net. There's a donate button in the podcast section right there. Those are always appreciated. And call on in 305-563-7264 or 305-JOE-RANG. And if you have any questions or you want to share anything, I'm here for you. That being said, we're going to get right into the guest today. My guest is Noah Urbina, and we are talking about Kratom. That is what is that word. If you're not familiar with it, is Kratom is the title of the podcast. I didn't know a lot about it. One of my friends that I've been good friends with for that's since high school, maybe even before that, but definitely since high school, turned me onto is the wrong word. He struggled with it and brought my attention to it. And I think it's very interesting and very relevant. And I think you guys will too. And there's probably some people here that know a lot about it that are here as well. So thank you for listening. And if you enjoy the podcast, please subscribe. I talk about all addictions on here, but addictions, as I've talked about on this specific episode, a lot of through lines in all of them. So thanks for being here. I'll see you guys on the other side. My guest today is Noah Urbina. He lives in Pasadena and specializes in dog behavior and rehabilitation. He is currently writing a book on dog behavior. And when that is out, I will let everybody know where to find that. You can find him on Instagram at Urbeezy. That's Urbeezy. Thanks for being here, Noah. What's your problem?
Yeah, my pleasure to be here. And so, what's my problem? I probably got a lot of them, but in the realm of things pertaining to addiction, is that from a very early age, I didn't realize I was just looking for something to escape from. And like, obviously, when you're super young, you don't notice things like that. You just like, you just try to figure things out. You dabble in stuff, and it catches your attention. But it took me many years to realize that I was like a sensation-seeking escapist when it comes to even things like you mentioned, like gambling. Even something as simple as that. That I always felt like sugar was my first drug and baseball cards were my first gambling, and not until adulthood that I find the uglier sides of what all that meant. So that's one of my many problems.
Sure. Yeah. I need to do an episode on sugar.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
like, that's the, I mean, there's cartels and everything for that. I grew up in Florida. So
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I've seen the documentary on
yeah.
Big Sugar, and it blew my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're as scary as any drug cartel out there. Trust me. And
yeah,
more powerful probably. So
yeah. Big Domino Sugar. Got to watch out for that.
yeah. Specifically today, we're going to be talking about
Mm.
Kratom. And by the way, we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. But
Yeah.
I'll say that word again, Kratom, because I didn't know a lot about it until recently. And the more I've read about it and kind of dug into it, I was like, wow, this is a thing that's going on, not just in our country, but it seems like everywhere.
Yeah.
What is Kratom?
All right. So it is a huge problem. As far as what it is, it's just a leaf off a tree, like a lot of things commonly start as. What it's been turned into. We'll get into that. But it's a Southeast Asian tree that often, for people that live in that area, is much like a coca plant, something that you just chew on to catch a bit of a buzz, something to get you through the day, what it's like being an adult, etc. But in the last 10 years in the States, and for a number of reasons that we can talk about, it's gotten popular in a way that it's kind of reared its ugly head as the new potential drug of abuse, because it's been being turned into a lot of concentrates and extracts and things so potent it would be the equivalent of consuming 1,000, 2,000 leaves at once. And so, like so many things, or at least like Americans do, we like to take a thing and turn it into the most powerful, concentrated thing ever, and then sell it to the highest bidder. And that's coming to bite a lot of people in the ass. And I used to be a huge advocate for it, like even in like signing petitions to keep it legal when it came under FDA scrutiny in like 2017, 2018. There was a documentary by Chris Bell called A Leaf of Faith. And in response to the opiate crisis and some issues one of his brothers was having, he wanted to make a documentary saying, hey, there's this cool new thing that can kind of pull you out of an opiate addiction because it has some similar tendencies and just isn't as addictive. And you had mentioned that you haven't heard much about it. Right now, it's never been under more scrutiny, and there's never been more articles being written on it, people that are suffering. We're talking in the millions for sure. And so, I know this is a big part of my life every single day that I'm helping people through their experience because mine was so brutal. And just by planting the seed in your psyche, you're going to start seeing it everywhere. And just by talking about it on your phone, it's going to start bringing up things about it. And yeah, it's there's a lot on the way.
No, it already has.
Yeah,
Since
yeah,
so and the way I found you is I have a friend that
yeah,
was, that listens to this podcast, but he's a friend of mine I've known a long time,
yeah,
and he was dealing with this, and when he started telling me about it, I was just like it didn't even make sense. I was like, "What?" And then, of course, it's like everything nowadays. You say it in your phone, and it's like, boom, it pops up.
yeah,
I, I think a couple interviews with you popped up, man. Like, I saw you,
yeah,
like, on stuff, so but
yeah, yeah, yeah.
just going back, so traditionally, it was people would just chew on the leaf, like a leaf or something to get, like, a little bit of energy or something like that, or is that what
Yeah, yeah, it was, and I have a friend in Thailand, and he said people use it out there, and that he doesn't really hear much in the way of addiction in response to it because it's one of those things that at that kind of a dose, just what it comes as, just a leaf, um, in the order of magnitude from least potent to what we're dealing with now in the culture, these most potent things, what something called 7-O, that is 7-hydroxymetragenine that is coming under scrutiny. It is really hard to overdo it with just the leaf and
Mm.
Americans are prone to taking things really really far, but I would assume in certain parts of the Thai culture and East Asian culture that people are getting addicted to it, and it's common from what I hear over there. It's just that for us here, it just kind of slipped under the FDA radar in such a way that it started being sold as a safe alternative, a social lubricant, an herbal remedy, a supplement. And for someone like myself, who's been immersed in drug culture from a very young age, that it even got me. And so, but for people that aren't, like, never did drugs and never drank, but want to try something like that based on the way that it's marketed, the amount of people in the support groups that I'm in that ended up not just hooked but in complete debilitating withdrawals is just astonishing. And if you have no history with drugs or alcohol and you end up in crippling withdrawals, you are in a real tight space, a real tight spot. That's been really really hard on people. And so after my experience, I just promised that it was just such a brutal experience that anything I could do to help anybody, I could. And it was never my intention to try to get it made illegal. It just seemed to me that based on what people are struggling with, that it would just be a matter of time that it just happened. But I think people should have the choice to know what the risks are and make a decision based on that. That seems like a adult, freedom inspired, socially appropriate way to go about things.
well, it seems like you understand America and don't understand America, so
Yeah, yeah.
'cause you
Yeah,
the
that's
first part,
fair.
you're like, "Oh, like anything in America, we Cheesecake Factory it," where you're like, "Hey,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
do a lot
yeah.
of it." And then you're like, "But I think as an adult," I was like, "Yeah, okay."
Hey, let me have a shred of optimism, please.
Uh, and, hmm, so how do you take it? Like, I guess if I mean, like, what I'm saying, if you're doing it at these levels, you said that would be like hundreds of leaves or whatever, you're not
Yeah, yeah,
chewing on
yeah.
that, right? I mean,
Yeah, no. So let me give a bit of a story on it. So, in like 2016, 2017, I started taking it, just like I don't use the term biohacking because kind of what it's turned into, but I've kind of always used my body as or my human experience like a human pincushion to just like test things out, see what life's all about, etc. And so Kratom, while it had been around for a bit, in 2016, 2017, it started to get a little bit more well known. And so I started taking it. You could just take a spoonful of the powder, which is just ground up leaf, and in low doses, it was kind of like a stimulant. It kind of makes you feel um, like not like coffee in that you feel jittery, but like just a little bit of a mood booster is what I called it. Just a
You
little
like mix
burst.
it into something else, or
I would mix it with ice water with a little bit of salt because it kind of tastes bad, and so I would mix it that way so that I didn't have to taste it very much. It doesn't really incorporate well into water, and so a lot of people put it into capsules. But I would just mix it in a drink and slug it down, and within I have a very fast metabolism. Within like 10 minutes, I would just be like, "This is nice. Let's get some work done," and it does
yeah.
the cool but yet insidious part about it is that it works really well until one day and you realize that you're kind of upside down on it and you're in a tough spot. And so between 2016 and 2020 there weren't really concentrates and extracts the way there are now. And in 2020 a product that you'll at least start hearing about now that we're going to talk about it, called Feel Free, made by Botanic Tonics, came out, and it was an uber concentrated version that had kratom and kava in it, which would be the equivalent of like a speedball, where
Mm.
part of it gets you amped and then part of it brings you down, and it's super euphoric and really disgusting. And even knowing that it was strong, for me, it was just like, I don't have to buy it in a big thing and mix it myself. I'll just, and it was at the produce stand where I was at in Sonoma. I'm like, let's give this a whirl. And then the first time I drank it, I'm like, I do that now. I do that now.
Hold on a second. I
Yeah.
was going to ask you where you get it at a produce stand.
All right, so in 2020 is right when it came out, and so I
Yeah.
was in the city of Sonoma up in Northern California, and it's a fairly conservative little town where we don't have like, I guess there are little smoke shops and whatnot. That's where you're more likely to find it, in a Circle K or smoke shops and things like that now,
Holy cow.
because there are so many products and concentrates being sold now. But at the time, it was just my little friendly neighborhood produce stand. Excuse me. They're like, oh, we got this new thing in. It's like an energy drink. Give it a whirl. And that line of that selling point
Yeah.
is getting people into, yeah, a tough spot, because it's not as though the people behind the counter are aware of the risk and are saying, fuck it, let's do this anyway. That's how it's being pitched to them, and they're just selling, this thing that for $10, $11 a bottle, that you're only supposed to consume 1 or 1.5 ounces of it, because it's two servings in this little bottle. That Yeah, just people have no idea how strong of a thing that they're signing on for. And back in the day, it was way stronger than the versions that they're making now. There was a clear reduction along the way of its potency right when I was in the deepest part of it, where it was very noticeable that the thing I paid the same
Yeah.
amount for is now way less potent. And I remember being super pissed about that.
Probably dangerous too, especially
Yeah,
if you're like, once you're addicted to something, you got, yeah.
yeah.
And kids can, a Circle K, like, can kids would just be like,
Yeah, so initially there wasn't. I don't think there was clear and obvious age restrictions on it. The Feel Free specifically has been sued countless amounts of times to where they had to put different things on the label, overemphasize things, put on that it's addictive, actually put the ingredients on it when they were hiding that kratom was in it to start. And so in my, because I'm in this world every day, that it seems to me that from the get-go the intention for that particular product was to deceive the customers,
yeah.
their very clients, to lead you to believe not only that it wasn't addictive or that it was healthy for you, but it didn't have the main thing in it that we all know that it has in it. Yeah,
I just Googled Feel Free while you said
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Literally, the first thing that comes up is a 3 weeks ago a New York Post article. It says, "Feel Free is hooking young people with horrible consequences. It appears as an innocuous as a trendy new kombucha, and it's billed as a natural way to get a little boost." So, like,
yeah, yeah,
wow,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And so for the people that get addicted to it, for all of your common drugs of abuse in American culture, we all know the end result of doing too much of them. And so it's not as though you wouldn't get sympathy for becoming addicted. Like, some people don't find much sympathy in that, but some people are like, "I get it, you got hooked." But for something that's new in the culture like that, to not be aware of the potential risks of the end result of getting hooked on something like that is the thing that I'm fighting to try to get people to understand that while it's being sold as a supplement and a wellness whatever, that you need to know what the risks are, and then with that knowledge, make the decision that you want with it, but that the people that end up addicted to this stuff feel so fucking embarrassed and ashamed, and that kind of goes part and parcel with any sort of addiction that you get deep into, but people feel like this could only happen to me. Like I could only I could get bamboozled by a wellness product and tricked
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
becoming addicted to, what they call gas station heroin, that people feel so embarrassed, and worse than that, they're specifically targeting the sober community, and I mean those in recovery, but the sober community also those who never dabbled in drinking or drugs either, which is almost like
Wow.
an untapped market of those. Oh, you hate drugs and alcohol? Well, then give this a whirl. Oh, you're in recovery. This is just a supplement, and
Yeah.
that's another
Yeah.
really repugnant
It's like
portion
matcha,
of
but with heroin in it. Yeah. Or whatever. Yeah. Yeah.
is exactly the energy with which it's being
Wow.
sold, and never from like, I went through this mine 3 years ago, and back then not many people had had that experience, but never has it been my intention to be condemning particular individuals or even companies, even though it seemed deceptive. Is that I just want people to know. I just want people to know. That's it.
Yeah, I hear you keep saying that, but you also you went through this experience, and you know
Mhm.
other people that went through this experience.
Yeah.
And I say the same thing there with gambling, and I think other addicts too, is like, hey,
Mhm.
people can do this normally, and
Yeah.
you're allowed to do that. But I think you're allowed to say the opposite of that too, without
Yeah.
having to. I know that you're trying to like kind of like be like, but it's okay. I mean, you don't have to say every time. I mean, it's clearly. I would say a thing that's resonating. You're saying to me too about like people that are embarrassed that are.
Yeah.
Again, with gambling, sometimes people don't understand gambling addiction. They'll just be like, "Just
Yeah.
stop," and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay."
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think with something like Kratom that a lot of people have never heard of, you
Yeah.
probably get that a lot. Like, "What are you talking?" Like, if you told someone you were addicted to cocaine, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, that checks out." Like, I get it.
Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
cousin that. But if you say Kratom, people are probably a little judgmental, even if they're subconsciously doing it. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's like
Yeah.
being addicted to
Yeah.
Pokemon. I don't know what that is. Like,
So
like,
you're spot on. It's both. It's alienating, and then because not many people can relate with you. That and people, a lot of people on the internet are downplaying the severity of it. That, yeah, it creates a different psychological process for people, and so still to this day, between 1 in 5 people a day reach out to me on
wow,
Instagram just because of the. I did a podcast with Jason Ellis, who's also a comedian, and
yeah.
the one that he and I did just started bringing some attention to it in a way that hadn't really been done before. And so, him being Australian and big and covered in tattoos, and me looking the way that I do, that it was a nice dichotomy of, oh, even a maniac like this guy and this friendly looking fella over here, it can happen to anyone.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
had that sort of
if
a
you guys don't know who Jason Ellis is, look him
yeah,
up. He's
yeah,
you wouldn't want to meet him in a dark alley. I mean, he's a nice guy, but I'm just saying if
yeah,
you just saw him, you would be like, okay, we'll turn around.
yeah,
Like, yeah,
for
so
sure.
that is nice to have that platform that you guys and
Yeah,
yeah, and it's just I mean, like you said, it's with like that with any addiction. There's always a
yeah,
sense of embarrassment
for
because
sure.
there are people doing this stuff normally, or they're just people that don't have this addictive kind of behaviors, and
Yeah,
so yeah, it's got to be that extraordinary thing where,
yeah,
if you're explaining it to your grandfather, you'd be like, "What the hell?" Like, it's like, "What
yeah, yeah,
are you
yeah.
talking
Maybe
about?"
leave Grandpa out of this one. He's not going to sympathize with you on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when I'm helping people through their process, one of the first things that sticks out for people is to have someone else who gets it, and that's a big deal, and then to be able to just tell their story, or be seen as like it didn't just happen to you, and I would argue that there's millions of Americans right now that are hooked on it, some in a dangerous way, some, like, there are people that use it in a way that is damage control from other addictions that they have, that would fight tooth and nail to keep it, because it's better than the thing that they have also been addicted to. And in that way, it's another
Right.
reason where I'm like, ah, I know that some people are using it and moderating it appropriately. Like I'm not a fool. Like I know that some people are having that experience with it, but because I spend so much time helping people through the ugly parts of it, that's more the world that I'm in, and it's just devastating people, man. It's
Yeah,
devastating people.
I I guess it's like what marijuana is to some people, but on a different level because it's way more addictive than marijuana.
Yeah,
Um, and I mean, some people tell you marijuana isn't addictive at all, and maybe that might be the case.
yeah,
I'm not an expert in that, but
yeah,
famously on my podcast, that was like a thing that a clip that I put out about saying if you were sober or not if you did marijuana, and man, I got good engagement with that one because people were very upset about like, like screw you, I do marijuana to get off heroin. And the whole point of the clip was do whatever works for you, like
yeah, yeah,
whatever
yeah,
works for you to make your life manageable because that's what addictions do is they make your life unmanageable for
yeah,
lack of a better word, like a nicer version of saying your life is, in shambles.
yeah.
And so like I wholeheartedly agree with that. If some people are able to do this and it is helpful to them, then yeah, then maybe it's something that's beneficial for people. So,
Yeah, yeah, and when people come in, and they're like when I'm first interacting with someone who's been struggling, they want me to give them some magic ticket that'll get them through it or some other thing they can take to get them through it, and
mm,
there are because it's not that well known in the culture, there aren't too many clear protocols, even from a medical standpoint, of how to get someone through that. It's been treated a lot like being addicted to opiates, which, I mean, if you want to take Suboxone and things like that to get you through it, and that helps, then by all means. I didn't do that. I just went cold turkey and tried to move my body, get some exercise, walk around, have some connection with people, and that's usually the advice that I give to people is that if you can get in a cold plunge, if you can get in a sauna, if you can get in the ocean, if you can lay in the sun, if you can be around people, that to just to remind yourself to reconnect with all the things that we know are important,
mm,
but then that fall away in the face of addiction. That you have to start bringing back in the things that have some staying power. Because in any addiction of mine, the first thing to go is human connection, and I start just throwing relationships in the trash and hiding from people and telling people to fuck off because whatever I'm addicted to, I'd rather do that. And so to
mm,
start peppering back in some humanity back in your life is the way that I found people to start feeling better sooner.
yeah, yeah. That I was just thinking about what you said too about um that there is a narrative. Well, these are companies. These are big
Yeah,
companies that
yeah.
are producing this. So that's also something that you're working against. And then maybe, hopefully, maybe they're doing it. I don't know. 'Cause, like when you go to a casino, if you go to the ATM, it says 1-800 admit it, which is like maybe too late to put that sign, but that is the casinos are at least giving some sort of they're
Yeah,
giving some sort of lip service at least to the
yeah,
fact like, "Hey, we
yeah,
care about gambling addicts, wink, wink."
yeah,
But at least it's there, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
where
yeah, yeah,
and if you're a cocaine addict, I don't think the cartel is putting out any they're just like, just putting a product out. They're not doing any,
yeah,
damage control, but,
yeah.
you're working these corporations, I'm sure you're still in that phase right now where it's just like, they're probably saying, "This is fine," and then other people saying, "Look, it can be fine," like you're saying, but, let's be realistic here and be honest. But
Yeah, I mean, I've been in this world for years, and the people that work, everyone knows, everyone within the system of creating these products. And I've had people, I mean, CEOs of this and that, titans of industry, people within the community that create and sell this stuff, all reach out to me, suffering and struggling. And if you're, in this business of kratom and you sell it to then admit that you're addicted to it and struggling, like you would easily become a pariah within your own
mm,
system. And so, someone in that position, as well as somebody whose job it is to help people, to give people guidance, that those people end up extremely alienated to be pushing this product that wrecked your life, or to be helping people with, their sobriety or their life while you're tied to this product, that yeah, they just lie that therein lies some of the complications and nuances and subtleties of what it's like to be hooked on something because it doesn't matter who you are, where you came from. Maybe some people are more prone to it, but then sometimes it is just the chemical hook. Sometimes it is I took enough of this, and then now when I tried to stop, it felt terrible, and now I need more just to get back to some version of a baseline. That there's, if you're familiar with Johann Hari talking about that's not just the chemical hooks, but this like separation or this separateness from people, this disconnection driving addiction. It's like, well, yeah, but also if you just take too much of something over and over again, and then you try to stop, your body's gonna fucking panic, and it's gonna tell you to take more of that on a subconscious level. It's gonna coerce you into continuing to take more.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, lost connection. I mean, everything you've talked
Hmm.
about is
Hmm.
that's why I talk about all addictions on here because there's always that through
Yeah,
line with
yeah,
addiction of, you know, isolating yourself and losing all those connections and like you said, you know, you know, sometime intentionally blowing, relationships up and stuff because, you've got to feed your addiction.
yeah.
What how long before or like what is it? So it's like opiate like or something? Like how long does it take before you think you get addicted or what kind of behaviors are you doing? Is it like you like passed out or what is it? Is it you
So
mentioned there's some
yeah,
energy. Yeah.
yeah, if you so what it does is in low doses it's like a stimulant, and in higher doses it's like an opiate. But at the
Mm,
same time, some of these extracts are so much like THC when processed by your liver becomes this other metabolite. People are also creating what's called 7-hydroxymetragenine, which is the thing that your liver turns it into. So it turns it into the reduced version, more easily taken into the body version of it, which is usually something that your body has to process to turn into, but people are selling it just like as a pill. And so just taking that is absolutely wrecking people and the thing that has brought the spotlight onto all of this. But how long it takes to get addicted depends entirely on how much you're taking. But with something like Feel Free, if you took 1 or 2 bottles a week and you just like, and I'm so not even every day, but just a couple bottles a week, and you did that for a couple months, when you stopped, it would be noticeable. Your body would let you know, oh, I am noticing that a thing that you used to give me isn't there, and you're going to feel kind of crappy, a little low, a little irritable, much like you might be without coffee.
mm,
But once you get into having a few a day, or like a lot of people max out at like 8 to 12 a day, which also include happens to be about $100 to $120 a day. That once you get to that point, needing it every 3 hours, you do that for a month or two, and when you stop, you are going to, as we say, you're going to have to pay the piper. You're going to have to the balancing out part of your bodily systems to deal with the weaning and the withdrawals of what you just took, that you're gonna suffer, and there's no way through that. You can take helper meds and you can do these other things that I've mentioned, and some suffering is worse than others. Mine was about 11 days of being in absolute hell. 11 days of can't get out of bed, can't eat anything, extreme withdrawal symptoms, akathisia being one of the worst, which is like having restless leg syndrome in your whole entire body, just your nervous system firing off, and like horse kicking in bed, and just saliva and snot pouring out your nose and mouth. Just an absolute nightmare. But it really depends on how much you take and how long you take it for. And then I would estimate some people's bodies are more sensitive and more susceptible than others, because I've had some people saying that their withdrawals were just kind of uncomfortable, and some people who were in absolute hell for
mm.
weeks.
Wow. Yeah. I was just looking up this 7OH
Hmm.
that you keep referring to as well. And
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
before I knew I was going to talk to you. And it said, here's an article from a week ago, it's like almost a month ago.
yeah,
The Food and Drug Administration takes steps. This is from the FDA. This is on FDA.gov. Take
yeah.
steps to restrict 7OH opioid products threatening American consumers. Yeah, it says it binds to from the kratom plant. It says like
Hmm.
or concentrate from the brain. And I mean, you said all this. I know you know,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
And look, I'm a former marine biologist and scientist, and I'm just going to say that as a precursor to that. I don't agree with everything RFK Jr. says and a lot of things, but he has a very hard stance on opioid addiction, and it seems like they're doing a lot of stuff to combat that. So I always want to give credit where credit's due, and that's it's an announcement by him saying they're taking action as a critical step in the fight against opioid addiction. So they're kind of lumping it in there, like you said, with opioids, but
Yeah,
it seems like that at least the government is looking into it now as to be at least
sure.
monitored, and
Yeah, but
regulated.
it's
Yeah,
a little more incestuous or even insidious than that, which is that the people that make kratom concentrates and extracts that don't use this synthesized version called 7.0. So, for example, Feel Free is one of them, and then there's another brand called MIT 45. The people in charge of those companies are lobbying against 7.0, saying that what 7.0 is not what we're
yeah.
doing with kratom, and so creating some distance when really the end result of using both is the same. But they could tell that the potency and the severity of what was happening for people taking 7.0 was going to bring scrutiny. And so, whether it was practicality or someone's PR team saying, let's create some distance between this thing that you're doing, which is also devastating people, and this other thing that is clearly separate as it's synthetic and derivative, yeah, there has been some intentional distance creating between them because now that kratom is a billion-dollar business, there is full on kratom lobbies, donating to presidential campaigns. And once you're making that much money, it's not something that you can just flip a switch. There's too much money involved in this process to just be like, nah, you can't have it anymore. Like, no, people are gonna, pay to keep it. They're gonna argue at the top to maintain it. And that now that it's what it is, that it's gonna take way more effort to take a step back than it would have, a few years back.
Okay, so Uh, now that you've mentioned 7.0
Mhm.
God, I'm just forgetting the other one. Feel Free.
Yeah.
This is like flashbacks to when my friend called me, and I hadn't talked to him in a while, and he just told me his whole journey that he was like going through. And I'm sure people that are listening,
The friend that turned us, onto
yeah,
each
yeah,
other?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
I don't want to use his name because I don't know if he wants
Yeah.
me, but
No, I understand.
I had a long phone conversation with him about, and he told me he's like Kratom, and then he said 7.0 and Feel Free, and I'm sure there's people listening to this podcast now that are the same feeling where I was like, what is that? Just sound it sounds crazy because you're like, I've never heard of any of this crap,
Yeah.
and now I've been since I've discussed with my friend. I have read up on it, and then he, I think he reached out to you and connected us. Yeah, he did
Yeah.
and connected us. I kind of just been diving into it, and then but everything you say, I'm always like, you said $1 billion instrument. I just typed in how big is the business of kratom, and it says right now 5.62 billion worldwide. This is 2023
Yeah.
or 2023,
Yeah.
and they
Yeah.
expect in 2032 to be
Yeah.
15 billion.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy shit!
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I mean,
that.
and it's crazy
Yeah,
that it's doing that kind of stuff and so few people know about it. Because
yeah.
those who know, they know for sure, and those that don't are like, "It's frankly, it sounds made up." You're like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I get
7.0,
it."
feel
Yeah.
free. It's like you might as well be doing Scientology is what it
Yeah,
sounds like.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, for
there's
sure.
dinosaurs and a volcano. Yeah, and
Yeah,
you're just
yeah, yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, it's Pokemon drugs. Yeah, no,
yeah,
I totally get it, and out in Austin, I did have a relapse at my 2-year soberversary where I did the thing that all alcoholics do, maybe you can relate with gambling, that I hit the 2-year mark, and I'm like, "You know what? I've earned it, I
yeah,
deserved it, I abstained for so long, I didn't even have an interest, I know that I can catch a nice buzz, and you know what? You deserve it." And I popped
yeah,
one open, I'm like, "Oh, I do this again now."
yeah, yeah. The rationalization is always strong in your brain. Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
yeah, I had my friend convince me that I could just play regular poker.
Yeah, yeah,
He goes, "'Cause it's
yeah.
slow, and then you're not gonna lose as money," and then I'm just like, all in, like, just
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I can gamble normally, and it's just like
Yeah.
your brain because you wanna be it. You have that FOMO, like, thing, like, you're like, I know that maybe I can, it looks like"
Yeah, yeah,
and I've done that several times. I've had that where I've been, like, clean for a long time, and then I'm just like,
yeah,
"Yeah, let's just dip my toe back in here," and the important thing is you're back to where you're at now because that's what I always say
yeah,
on these podcasts is, you know, if you have relapsed, you fell off, whatever you wanna call it, it's like, well, that does suck, you're not starting at 0 again, you know
Yeah,
what I'm saying? You're
big
you're
time.
starting at you might have fallen back, like 15 places or something like that, but it's okay to just say, "Okay," or, "You know what? That's bad, blah, 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 this and that." So don't get so wrapped up in that in the this many days sober, it's that whole journey of getting there. Just, get back on that horse for lack of a better term or whatever, you know?
Yeah, well, no, that's totally valid because the what's common in addiction generally is a lot of all or nothing thinking, and that when you take a step in the wrong direction or have that little misstep, it very much feels like burn it all fucking down now.
Yeah.
And the cool part about having a bunch of people that all understand in like the support groups that I'm in for this, that when someone fucks up, we can't they go missing for a little bit and they don't participate, but man, the balls that it takes to come back in and admit it, to come back in and talk about it is the first step out of that. To hold yourself accountable, to know that you can say this to a bunch of people that aren't gonna jump down your throat for doing a very fucking human thing, that is the first step out,
That
is
that
to admit
everybody
it and
relates to, by the way, in that
oh
in that
my
circle.
god,
Everybody
yeah.
relates to. But you're still
God.
afraid. That's how the addict brain works. Like, I'm not gonna tell these guys. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, and yeah, to see people come out and do that and realize everything that you just said, that everyone's going to reassure them that hey, your world's ahead of where you were. To be willing to talk about it is a huge step. Most people, yeah, like will just keep on using and then even stay in the groups and then just disappear one day and we'll never hear from them again. But yeah, to come back in and have even a shred of accountability is a step in the right direction for sure.
Yeah, I it's I don't know. Maybe there is a study. I don't know. Addicts and OCD,
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah, yeah.
because I'm not I'm not, everyone when they say, yeah, obsessive compulsive disorder, you think of like Jack Nicholson as in Good as It Gets, where he's locking the
Yeah,
door
yeah,
3
yeah.
times and this and he can't has the cell door. I mean,
Yeah.
there's varying levels to it. It's just, a lot many things are on a spectrum kind of thing, but I definitely have some OCD tendencies, not to that level, but I do. And I think that I just thought about it now when you said it. I think that's part of that all or nothing mentality where you're just like, because when you're sober or clean or whatever, you just feel so good. You're just like, I'm doing this. That
Mhm.
all that crap that you piled on before and has now been replaced with this like sense of pride and self-esteem, and you feel so good. So I think that your brain works that way. We're like, well, I guess it's ruined. I might as well
Yeah, yeah,
burn it
yeah.
down. Like, what?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
it's not ruined. You're fine. You just
yeah.
somebody came in with mud on their boots. We'll just clean the floor there real quick, and when we bring
Nah,
the
burn it down, brother,
yeah,
just burn it. Just
yeah,
start over somewhere else in a new towns where no one knows you had mud on your boots.
yeah, yeah, new towns.
Yeah, yeah, that's the junkie classic. Is gambling your only or primary thing that you got stuck on, or were there substance involved with it too?
I mean, food definitely for me.
Mm,
I'm in the process of losing weight. And I hopefully this is the last time because I've fluctuated my weight my whole life. But
yeah.
I was the heaviest I've ever been the beginning of this year. I was 340
Mhm.
pounds.
Mm,
I'm about 260 something right now.
mm,
Um, but by the way, psychotic. Like the way I'm losing the weight and I feel better. But the OCD is like strong in that where I'm just like I can't have that. I'm going to have, I will eventually. I'm like, I'll have a big bowl of pasta and something else that I want. But I was like, I can still have that in my life, but I'm just trying to get down to a much more manageable weight. And I already feel a million times better. I travel a
yeah.
lot, so I feel so much better traveling. But, um, I, I have used that like OCD kind of addict mentality in the good way where I'm like, I am concentrating on losing weight now. We're going to do everything to do that. So, but I'm
Yeah.
setting myself up hopefully properly. Like I'm not just like starving myself. I'm eating, but I'm counting my calories and then I'll do the exercises so I can eat some more today because I'm going to go hiking today or these exercises.
Yeah.
But now I'm concentrating, like I'm getting kind of flabby from the weight I lost. So now I got to
Mm,
get into lifting a little bit of weights and doing that and stuff.
yeah.
But my point is food 100%. I've treated food. I mean, gambling's hard because you lose all your money and I've lost everything I've had twice over,
Yeah.
I've done that 2 times.
Yeah.
And with food, it's like, okay, like it's not good for you and you can kill yourself by doing it, and you're going to have all these health issues and your quality of life sucks and you feel the shame and stuff like that. But, so I kinda let it go by the wayside, but I post clips of myself online because 'cause I'm a comedian, and man, the clips I'm posting on now was from an album I recorded at the beginning of the year, and I look at that and I'm just like, "Oh, wow." It makes me feel good because I look at it, I'm like I just look at my head and I'm like, "Holy cow, I look so much better." But I
Yeah.
also feel bad that I got to that point, that I'm just
Yeah,
like
sure.
yeah. So,
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely overlap in the OCD versus addiction world. Maybe not a direct correlation, but a lot of overlap in the sense of grasping for control. That where control was once lost, whether it's emotional control or control of your environment, or control over food, that to get very rigid in an unhealthy way and create these little systems that may not even make sense, but we find a way to justify it is totally just a part of the addict and I suppose I'd argue poor mental health side
yeah.
of all of this. It's just this outcropping of a bug in the brain, and that rather than sorting it out in the way that's best, like we build these little side systems to sort it out. Because for me, the source of addiction all stemmed from just a feeling of disconnection and discomfort and like low level anxiety that I didn't even realize I was carrying until the first time I got high and all that went away. And so the subconsciously you go, oh, I do that now then. Oh, I
Yeah.
could smoke a thing and all of that goes away. All of that I didn't even know was there and that all goes away. Well, then I'm going to smoke that forever. And so rather than it being a problem, clearly, and it's cliche to say because those in the world know that it was a solution to a problem that at a certain point that solution no longer works out and starts to whoop your ass. But for me, just drugs were the thing that drinking I never really liked. But as soon as I got a drug in me and all of those weird feelings of discomfort went away, I'm like, oh, then obviously I do that forever now.
Yeah. I've said it before on this podcast. I have
Yeah.
abused some drugs and alcohol in my life, but I've never had the feeling of how I feel with gambling, where I'm like, this is my life. Like you said, this is what I have
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
much so is like, I'm going away this weekend with some buddies, and a couple of them are pretty big drinkers. It's like, we're going to get drunk this weekend, whatever. And I'm not looking forward to, I'm going to have some drinks because I'm social about it. And I've actually been kind of like, given this weekend as a reprieve, like I might even have a donut this week. I'm going to let loose
Yeah.
this week and
Yeah.
go off just have some fun, like while I'm not, out with my friends. But the drinking
Yeah.
part, I drink so little now. I mean, even I barely drink now that I'm like, yeah, I don't know. If I drink a lot, I'm going to snore and then I'm going to have this whole thing. And then if I eat too late, I've been
Yeah.
trying to eat early, like by 6:30 p.m. But yeah, and it is interesting when you were talking about that too with your emotional component of addiction because like I said, I had a lot of rough times with gambling in recent years, and then I got clean again. I started to do this podcast as like an extra thing besides all the other stuff that I'm doing and roadblocks things I'm setting up. I have this weekly podcast that I there's a sense of accountability with it. It doesn't mean that
Yeah.
I can't something couldn't go wrong. I'm not hoping for it to, but man, I had stopped gambling and then I still felt terrible. I was still depressed. I had anxiety, panic attacks, things like that. And I was like, oh yeah, because of the food thing. I'm not even dealing with that. I still hadn't
Mm.
dealt with that. And since I've been losing the weight and like eating better, more properly, working out and stuff, I have mentally taken light years. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like
Yeah, of
my
course.
comedy's been better.
That's what I was
My
gonna say,
stand-up
it'll help.
comedy has been better. I'm still talking
Yeah.
about how, it's stand-up comedy, so you're still like, everything sucks, but
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
better, and all these projects that I've wanted to work on that kinda was just like, "Yeah, I'll get around to that." I'm filling my day up with,
Yeah.
because that's the important thing to do, but it's like it's so interesting to see that and good.
Well, it's funny to hear you say that because in the same way that, like, gambling and food can be that thing that if we set up these systems and those systems are staying busy with important things to keep you from doing those other things, well, watch yourself get addicted to setting up systems to
Yeah.
distract yourself to keep you
Yeah.
from doing those other things. And then you're a workaholic and your wife hates you and your kids run away because you're like, no, I have to go do my fourth podcast of the day. It's like, man, are we not seeing that these are all stemming from the same shitty line of thinking?
Yeah, yeah. The I wanna say, like, the 3rd or 4th episode I did, we were looking at some clips from My Strange Addiction, that show,
Of
and
course, I
yeah.
watched every minute of it.
Well, there was one where a guy was addicted to riding a bicycle. I don't know if
Yeah,
you saw that,
sure.
and so he would ride his bike, but then he also set up a stationary bike to where he would work from his stationary bike with, by the way, a shitty laptop system. Like, he did, if you could, that's gonna be your addiction, get a better system. But he was, like, working on the, typing, like, on the bike and stuff,
Yeah.
and it was just like, "Yeah, that's not good." Like, I know that you're working out and it's healthy to ride a bike, but clearly
Yeah,
this is affecting you this is not good. Like, you gotta
yeah,
tone down the biking a little. So,
yeah.
but yeah,
Well, I'll tell
100%.
you on the path that you're on, I mean, it'll be pointing out the obvious, but I'm a big exercise guy. I've been an athlete my whole life, and that is a part that I would never say that thing that people with depression and anxiety get so upset about, that exercise fixes everything, but goddamn is it a vital part of
Yeah,
the process to go not just do something that you work hard at, but that a part of you doesn't fully believe you can do it, and then you do it anyway, and you look back at you and you go, "Fuck yeah, me.
yeah,
I wasn't sure I could, and then I did." And it's nice to surprise ourselves. It's nice to, like, doing that carries over into other parts of your life, to do a thing that is difficult, feel shitty about it, do it anyway, and look at yourself and go, "Fuck yeah." And I know that, myself included, I have a very hard time giving myself a pat on the back. But it is nice, even if you only barely believe it, to look at a thing that you've done that you're proud of and be like, "Fuck yeah!" Like I part of me knew that I could, and look at me go. And doing that with things like exercise and setting those little
yeah,
goals, like that's how we rewire our brain to reattach to an appropriate dopamine reward system, which is to choose to do a thing, do that thing, feel good about that thing, and then rinse and repeat, rather than only feel good gambling, eating a thing, consuming a drug. And I think it was Huberman that said, addiction is the consistent narrowing of that which brings you pleasure, until it's just that one singular thing and nothing else matters. That applies to, yeah, addiction stuff just across the board.
yeah, 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 100%. And
Yeah,
I'll tell you who's not digging it. My dog. I have like a little terrier mix. He's right here next to me,
yeah,
and he's not like he's probably 8 or 9, so he's not like a spring chicken anymore. But he's still pretty young for a little dog.
yeah,
And all of a sudden, our walks went from around the block to like, all right, we're gonna do 2 miles this morning, and
yeah.
he's like, dude. You have established who you are the first 4 years that you've known me. It's not he's like, especially in the summer, he's like, "Come on,
Yeah.
let's,
I will not tolerate your change.
he just flipped over for me to pet him on his belly. There, buddy. Um, well, cool. Alright, I wanna ask you these questions. I have
Yeah,
8 questions that I ask everybody, 8 lucky
sure.
questions, and,
Yeah,
here we go. What's a
yeah.
small thing that someone did that helped you more than they know?
Man, so for when I had to go through withdrawals for Feel Free, I didn't realize how severe it was gonna be, and so me and an ex of mine, we set up some time to go to an Airbnb in Utah. And I was like, "Listen, I've been." Well, A, it was really nice to be able to admit to somebody, because I generally do all my addictiveness in private. So to admit to her how serious this was, and that when we go down there, it's gonna take me a couple days to move through this process. And it turns out it took every single day of those 11 days. And so to have somebody by your side to not judge you and oversee you and caretake you, when A, you're used to being, well, for myself, not just a man, but I'm used to, leading whatever I do, being the best at whatever I do, being, received well in the community. And all of a sudden, for 2 weeks straight, I am a pitiful fucking crying, sniveling, snotty faced baby boy in bed. And to have someone, whether she felt some kind of way about it or not, to have someone oversee something like that with grace and equanimity, she just saw it as run of the mill, commonplace. Why wouldn't I do it? I saw it as, how could you ever fucking tolerate seeing somebody in that state and staying there with them. And so yeah, it'll get me emotional. Thing about like that was heavy, man. To
Yeah.
have somebody there to watch you at your worst, not judge you for it, and still be a bubbly little light. That was a whole big deal, man. Whole big deal.
Yeah, I love that question because I ask these questions to everybody. And it's always a great answer like that too. But I also like people saying it, their versions of whatever it is, because like I said, there's all different people listening to different things on this podcast. And there are also people listening to this podcast that have written to me that aren't even addicts that like just
Yeah.
know me from another podcast I did. And so I think it's good for people to know that like there's no act that's too small kind of thing, you know? So
No, I
that's
agree. And for those non-addict people, they find addict behavior so hard to understand that I feel like anything I can do to convey what it's like to be in that position so that they may not be able to relate, but they can at least, try to create some semblance of understanding to help people and not just be like was maybe suggested to you. Well, have you considered just stopping? Have you
yeah.
ever tried to knock it the fuck off?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Or you're not good at that's the new one. I'm doing a
Yeah,
joke about it currently. Like,
yeah.
you're just not good at gambling. And I'm like, is an alcoholic not good at drinking? I'm like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know who's really good at doing heroin? Heroin
Yeah.
addicts. Like, trust me. Like,
Bro, get out of here. I use the heroin addict conversation with my dog stuff all the time that when people have separation anxiety with their dog, they're like, "But my dog just loves me so much." I'm like, "Does a heroin addict love heroin?" They're like, wake up, they're like, "You know what? It's gonna be a bright and sunshiny day and it's heroin time." Like,
oh, that's
no,
it.
it's
With dogs, you say about the love thing. That's funny because there's a joke I do. There's a joke I'm not doing my laugh, but
Yeah.
I say I think my dog likes me strongly, but love, I'm not sure. Like I'm like,
Yeah.
if you asked him what my name was right now, if you held a gun to his head and asked me what
Yeah.
my name was, he'd be like, yeah, it's a good question. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, yeah, he's all right. He gives me food, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, if your addiction had a theme song, what would it be? It doesn't have to be a theme song. It's just any song that would be the theme. Just
Oh, not
clarify.
like not the Jetsons or something.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, it can be,
uh,
but yeah, it doesn't have to be.
there's a song by Brother Ali called "Sensitive," and within the chorus, he says, "Keep in mind." Well, for starters, he's a albino rapper, and so he's just cool as shit. But within the chorus, he says, "Keep in mind that I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my shit." And the whole song is about just like what it's like to be a rapper and how he's received in this place and that place. And that song, both the lyrics and how the music goes, was something that I realized through this process that I have to have creative outlets in my world in order to stay sane, and that I don't need to make my entire world about being sensitive and doing art, but I have to make a pocket of my life to be that, because I do feel that whether it's as a human or as a man, part of my job is to shut the fuck up and do, but I also I can't be only that. But I have to keep these
Yeah,
little pockets of creativity and fun and silliness and goofiness and realize that I can't just turn a hard edge to everything or else things just get too hard. I don't mean like difficult. I mean just yeah, razor's edge of intensity, and so that's the song that um I come back to and I'm like, fucking I need that every now and then, or the reminder of that.
I don't know who Brother Ali is, but if he's an albino rapper, he's got to be good
Oh,
because
he's absolutely incredible, man. I'll send you that song. It's whether or not you like it or like the style, it's a pleasant listen.
yeah, I like rap. So I mean, and
Yeah,
I'm open. I love music, and I'm very open minded with music. So I'm
yeah,
sure.
that's a
Yeah.
good one. Mhm.
What's the quote unquote dumbest excuse you've ever told yourself to justify your addiction?
I don't think I'd be an outlier here to say things like, "I need it," or "It makes me better," or "It's not that big of a deal," which is
Mm,
somewhere between total denial or yeah, total excusing of foolish behaviors, but also once you're in the loop of it all, that first you take it to get high, and then from this standpoint, you take it to get well, and so at a certain point, it is rational to believe that you need it, but you shouldn't have to rely on any sort of a thing like that just to feel regular things. But that was something that I'm as smart as I convince myself I am, that I am also very good at self deception and convincing myself that something is good when it's not, or that I need it. And that's something I see a lot in the Kratom world, where when I talk about it online, a lot of people are, cursing me for because I'm going to get their thing taken from them. And what it looks like to me is that they're addicted and they don't want someone to take their shit because they've convinced themselves that they need it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm definitely guilty of convincing myself that somehow things were good or better when I was in the throes of just insufferable addiction. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, what do you think is the worst addiction?
Well, I don't think it would be my opinion to say, benzos, alcohol, opiates, and amphetamines, but,
Yeah.
outside of the standard, I why I'm gonna say kratom extracts is because of how insidious it is that because of the not knowing, because of the lack of cultural understanding, and because it works so well
Yeah.
until the day that it doesn't, and the day that it doesn't is the day that you're in the upside down, as I call it, where you're now gonna have to go through withdrawals. You're now gonna have to pay the piper. You're gonna have to endure suffering, but it's so insidious in that it works. If you, even if you're taking like powder, it works really, really well. Like I was pulling 16-hour work days, just breezing through stuff, just handling shit, feeling like a king until one day I had to take it at night to go to sleep and then take it in the middle of the night to make it through the night. And once you're at that point, you are in absolute fucksville. And so I think the common ones that I mentioned first are all known to be most troublesome, but kratom extracts are so insidious in that just one day you wake up and you realize you're fucked and you did not expect that that was even a possibility.
Yeah. I wish I could make balloons drop on you. You're the first guest that has answered their own addiction to that question,
Uh,
surprisingly. Yeah.
well, I mean, I'm biased
Good.
because it
Yeah.
was the worst suffering I've ever felt in my life, and people often mock that. You're like, you must have had an easy life. I'm like, you're underestimating the suffering.
Yeah, no, it's like everything we've talked about so far. It's like people just don't know. You're like, "What are you?" Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Um,
I was on the other team for this stuff for a long time, and then this happened to me. I'm like, "Oh, those people weren't lying who said that all along the way I was taking this stuff."
yeah. Um, Here we go. What one word would you use to describe your addiction?
Uh, burdensome?
Yeah, it's a good one.
Burdensome? Heavy is the hand that whatever is the whatever, like,
It's
it
not
just
one word, Noah. We're gonna go with burdensome. I think that's
yeah,
good.
it saturates your whole fucking life in wet blanket bullshit.
And how about one word that describes your recovery?
Mm, expansive? That, to get rid of the monkey on the back, all of a sudden, like, you lose sight of how it was driving every decision, and to have a clear mind and not be, required to consume, some other thing in order to do regular human things is really, relieving to not be tied to any sort of a substance.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
What's your proudest moment in recovery so far?
It was just making it through, the acute withdrawals and having the presence of mind to document it, that I documented 3 of the days and put it on YouTube in private so that nobody could see it, just so that I could have it one day if need be, and at this point, I've made it public and just, like, we're at, like, 5,000 views on one of them and a shit ton of comments and some people with, like, there's someone with an Iboga clinic in Mexico who uses some of my videos and podcasts to show his people that are there for kratom so they can realize how severe it is. But just making it through what I always joke around as being like coming face to face with the devil's dick, and not. I don't think I won, but I sure didn't lose. That like maybe we had a stalemate or a standoff.
Yeah.
But to be in that level of relentless hell that after a week and a half feels like it's never going to go away. Um, I always use the comparison that like my sword was broken and my shield was busted and my armor was fucked, but like I'm not going down. And so to fight to the end of something like that, it's cliche to call it spiritual because that word gets overused so much, but I've never suffered like that before. And to come out and feel okay again, it's like you're thankful for everything that you get to do after that.
Yeah. I mean, dude, if you're not face to face with quote unquote the devil's dick anymore, you don't need to win. You just don't want to be face to face with the
Yeah,
devil's dick. How
yeah,
bad
yeah,
would
yeah.
his dick smell? I mean, it's got
Yeah,
to
oh,
be
just
all that
and
heat.
violent,
Yeah.
yeah, just a heat coming off it, of course.
Yeah. I don't shower for 2 days and it's a problem, you know?
Yeah, yeah, just a regular human dick.
French onion dip, it's
Yeah.
bad. Uh, what's the worst advice someone gave you while you were struggling?
I don't have an answer for that because I hid it from everyone because looking the way I do, it made being a drug addict very easy, where, people are like, "That's a church boy who's only been eating saltine crackers in a closet forever." Because I've always been a functioning addict, so where and
Your
I've always
voice
been
too, by the way, is very clean. Just like, "Hey, guys," like,
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
how
yeah.
it's how it's like how black comedians imitate white guys, by the way, your voice.
Yeah. Thank you, that is a fine compliment. Yeah, 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 no, I get that, and so I kept it to myself, man, and so I didn't really have advice because part of that was, thinking that, like, I could pull it off, and part of that was that I don't want people to know, and so I wouldn't let someone know that that happened to me until I landed on the other side because it's too embarrassing to like, I was raised in a perfectionist household to where failure was not an option, and so if there was ever failure, you push it underneath a thing, and then you overcome it, and then you talk about it later.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, so
Uh, last
I hid from that.
last question. What
Yeah.
advice do you have for someone that is struggling?
You can only run for so long, that there's other people that want to help and that care about you and want to know and won't judge you and suffered themselves and never told anyone, and I don't have fears about what people call it being vulnerable. I see it as just regular. Like that's just how I live my life. I talk about the things that happened to me now as an adult. As a kid, not so much, but that way more people than you think have had or are having these same struggles, and when you come out with it and you talk to people about it's like this pressure release valve of releasing the steam off of your own problems and your own addiction, and you bring in people into your world that are now then willing to admit that they weren't always perfect and they made mistakes, and it creates this little community of broken soldiers, if you want to call it that, to know that other people struggled the way you did, it removes the alienation part. And I've had fucking family members reach out to me to, you know, congratulate me or at least relate with like, yes, I did too. And it's nice to see someone talking about it. And, our boomer parents' generation is not something that really gets talked about. And so I would encourage people to, as soon as you don't have to tell everyone, you don't have to tell the world, like I have, been doing a little bit at a time, but to just confide in some people and release that pressure and, be willing to take a knee and say, yeah, I'm struggling and I'm suffering and I need some help. More
Yeah,
people are want to than people think. I assure you of that.
yeah. Well, thank you, Noah Urbina, for being here. Thank you
Yeah,
on
man.
behalf of my friend and everybody else that's struggling with kratom because
Yeah.
um, you're out there, you're at ground zero doing the work out there to get with other people. I'm sure too, but it's
Yeah.
like I knew nothing about this, and I know my friend all this crap he went through is terrible, and he's on
Yeah.
the other side right now, and he's doing good right now, thankfully. But um, as an addict, it's just like I'm happy that you're out there getting this word out because the more people know, as they say, and
Yeah.
the more you
Yeah.
know, stars flying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but thank you for doing that. Check him out on Instagram. Hey, if you live in the LA Pasadena area and you got a dog, go to Instagram, Urbeezy, Urbeezy. Check it out. He does good
Yeah,
work.
and for you, Forrest, and anyone watching this, that if someone comes to you and because we talked about kratom and they're like, "What do I do?" I don't expect like send them my way. Like just to
Sure.
talk to somebody is the first step in any of this to reconnect to reality. And so anyone here listening, don't feel burdensome to reach out to me. I would much rather you do that than the alternative, which is keep hiding. That yeah, feel free to holler at me, and yeah, if anyone comes to you, you can send them my way because I'm not gonna fix everything. They have to do the heavy lifting, but just talking
Yeah.
about it is a big deal.
That's how good of a person Noah is. I was just gonna push his dog business, and he's like, "Yeah, we'll go back to Kratom." But, I was gonna say, as a dog owner, again, Instagram at
Yeah,
URBEEZY or BZ.
yeah.
Um, was that your Chihuahua, the one that was really overweight, or the
It was my great aunt's dog that never left the living
man?
room,
I love those
and
videos. Those are videos that like
yeah,
crack me where it's like it's a dog that's they found on the side of the road or this and
yeah,
that, and then it's just like miserable. Because my dog he's not perfect. We're still working with him, but
yeah.
I leave him when I go out of town with this dog sitter, and they have other small dogs. And when I first got him, he would like not even go with dogs. And he sends me videos of him now, like playing with dogs and doing something. Like, it makes you cry on the
Yeah,
road. I'm like, he's got
yeah.
so, but that video is like that's like a just a fat chihuahua that was like mad at everything. And then by the end of the video, it's like you're like, yeah, you're like it's
Yeah,
going good.
yeah.
I love those.
Now it's just my little best friend. Yeah, she's lovely, and I had no idea that personality was hiding underneath that fat mess of a creature.
Yeah, yeah, it's awesome. All right, Noah, thanks for being here, and
Cool, man.
I will talk to you later.
Alright, sounds good.
Oh, look at me. I'm leaning back in the woods. Can you guys hear me okay? Maybe. Thanks again to Noah Urbina for being on the podcast. He's a great guest. Knows what he's talking about. Personal experience, and also he is a knight in shining armor for those that are being affected by being addicted to kratom. Feel free 7-0 or whatever, all these different things. It's a crazy world out there. Thank you for listening, everybody. And as always, if you are in a crisis, you're feeling like you might harm yourself, anything like that, call 988. That's in US and Canada, 988, and talk to somebody. Reach out to somebody. United Kingdom, 0800 689 5652. Australia, 13 11 14. Finland, 09 2525 0111. And if you've listened to this podcast before, Germany, you got too many numbers. Fuck you. By the way, and reading the United Kingdom, that's a lot of numbers too. We got to get down to 3 digits in all these countries. But of course, you're not listening to this podcast to find these numbers. There's a Wikipedia page, list of suicide crisis lines, has all of the crisis and helplines by country. Go there. Thank you guys for listening again. I will talk to you next week. Love y'all.